What has this got to do with this? It's time to rediscover some early Game Boy history. I'm not sure whether to start this story in 1989 when the Game Boy first came out, in late 1990 when it came to Europe, 1997 when I got a Game Boy Pocket for Christmas as my first console, sometime in the mid-2000s when I started collecting for Game Boy again using the Game Boy camera in art projects, or maybe I should start in 2017 when I saw it for the first time. The Game Boy accessory that has haunted my dreams for the last 7 years. People who collect retro games after a while will have seen most things that there are to see. You search eBay and you know more or less what you'll find. There are only so many games, so many consoles, so many accessories. But you search anyway, in the vain hope of spotting something new, something unusual, a hidden gem.
Metal Jesus here.
In 2017, that happened for me. But it wasn't a game or a console, it was a case. A grey pencil case looking thing with the logo for Swizzels Matlow on the side, and a listing title that read something like Swizzels Matlow Game Boy Game Case. I'd never seen one of these before. From the photo I couldn't even tell if it really was for Game Boy. It just looked like a generic grey bag. And what did Swizzels Matlow have to do with Game Boy? You see, unless you're from the UK, you might not get the significance here. Swizzels Matlow are a sweet manufacturer. They specialise in lollies and chewy bars that seem to be designed specifically to pull kids' teeth out. They are the makers of iconic brands such as Love Hearts, Refreshers and the Double Lolly. They are a quintessentially kids brand, a quintessentially UK brand, and the sight of the logo sets off the same nostalgia neurons for a UK 90s kid as the Game Boy does. The idea that these two icons of my childhood were brought together in this one weird item was too delicious for me to pass up. So I placed my bid and I sent the seller a message to see if I could find out more about it. She told me that it was a promotion by the sweet company. You bought it filled with sweets, and once you were done munching, you were left with a case to keep your Game Boy stuff in. Armed with that story, I started searching the internet for more images, maybe an old advertisement that would corroborate it. And I waited to win the auction. But my search for any evidence of the case other than this one eBay listing turned up empty, and so did my chance of owning it as I was outbid at the last moment. It was all over. I wanted to hold the sweet elixir of nostalgia squared in my hands, but I let it slip through my fingers. Never mind, I thought, another one will turn up eventually. A couple of weeks of searching go by and nothing. It begins to feel like the whole thing is a fever dream, so I email Swizzels and I tell them the story. I just need someone to confirm that it was real and I'm not going mad. And I wait. Then a reply.
Hi Jim. My colleague Rob Whiteley, who worked for us in sales for almost 40 years, has come back with the following response for you.
Jim, your emailer is 100% correct. The Nintendo Game Boy was developed in 1989 and swept the nation. There wasn't a case on the market that included the Game Boy in games. Game Boys were about the size of a postcard and the very first handheld games machine. We had a product called Variety Bag, similar to Bumper Bag, and even back then it was the #1 kids sweets in bag format. We had specially commissioned some light grey with red piping and red logo Nintendo cases that held machine and 6 games, and the consumer deal was send in 5 proofs of purchases plus some P&P money to claim your free case. It was a very successful promotion, but needless to say we had plenty left over and started giving them away to trade customers. However, we also gave every employee in the factory one to put the money, keys and bits and bobs in. Mobiles weren't invented then. and that was all they were allowed to bring into the canteen from their lockers. If you go down to our canteen even now, you will see a few of the long-term employees still using them. They were very cost-effective and worked well for us. Think it would have been 1991-1992.
Soon to retire, 40 years long service, Swizzels Matlow hero Rob Whiteley was able to fill in details about the mystery case and made the story a whole lot more interesting at the same time. There were more cases, and he knew where they were. In the factory. It would turn out later that some of Rob's memories of the case aren't totally accurate, but I love that he took the time to answer my dumb question and add detail from his own experience being involved with the promotion. Warmed by his response, I moved on with my life, content to know a little bit of quirky trivia and not thinking a whole lot more about it. Only, I do keep thinking about it. Every now and again, just to check, I search Google and eBay to see if another case comes up. It never does. For 7 years, it doesn't come up. I should probably stop looking, but what would one more email to Swizzels Matlow hurt? What if I offer them the latest ever redemption on a promotion ever and send in some proofs of purchase, along with postage money? It's worth a shot, isn't it? Well, they didn't like the idea. I speak to Becky and Sarah Louise at Swizzels Matlow and they say, yes, we have found one case from the promotion that finished over 30 years ago. It's sitting in a cupboard in the factory. But no, I can't purchase it. They're just going to send it to me. And here she is. The fabled Swizzels Matlow case. Considering this has been knocking around for over 30 years, it's in pretty good condition. And wow, it's amazing. So let's take a look at this thing. Firstly, there is no way this was intended to hold the old DMG Game Boy. I've got a pocket here and that would fit, certainly, but awkwardly. A DMG just wouldn't fit in this thing. However, here's 20 games in here and they fit absolutely perfectly. You can get a snug fit of 21 games, in fact. It's clear that this was the intended design. Game Boy Pocket doesn't even fit. There's no way you'd fit a DMG in there. It's clear this was the intention. I love that this case is so perfectly fitted to the Game Boy, and doesn't it get your nostalgia going? Just right for Philippa Nicholson's copy of DuckTales. It's hard to explain exactly why this case obsessed me for so long. I mean, it's just a pretty generic case. It's grey and it's red. I mean, I guess it all comes down to the logo and the fact that I've never really seen these around. It seems so strange, a strange juxtaposition of this quintessentially very British, very UK thing with Nintendo. It just seems like a strange marriage. Now, the best thing about this story is the amazing folks at Swizzels Matlow, who just were incredibly generous, responding to some strange questions about an old promotion from the 90s. they didn't have any information in their archives at all, and they did look. The only way they were able to confirm what this was Rob's testimony. So he was about to retire and was able to respond and share his memories about this thing, and confirmed that they still existed and they're still in the factory. He retired soon after, and sadly he has passed away now. And it makes you think, had I emailed just a few months later, he would have retired and the story would have gone with him. These cases would have been around the Swizzels Matlow factory, but there's no way, unless you see it with a Game Boy game in, that you would recognise, oh yeah, that's supposed to be with a Game Boy, and we had this promotion. There was nothing in the archives. The whole history of this thing would have gone with him, so it's kind of nice that we've been able to remember and preserve it. Finishing this video is hard because I can't explain why this obsessed me so much. It was just how unusual it was, this juxtaposition of a very British brand with Nintendo, and there seeming to be no history on the internet about it. And it's odd how in life we can get obsessive over these little things, and cool that we were able to resolve this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you know about any strange old Game Boy accessories or any nostalgic things that have obsessed you as you've tried to find them as an adult, let me know below. Get to bed.
No, you should end it. Anyway, I'm gonna eat one of these now.
Okay, I'll do that.